Hello, today we are going to discuss about operating system unit 6, that is Linux system and Android software platform. Coming to Linux system, we need to discuss components of Linux, inter-process communication, synchronization, interrupt, exception, and system call. So these are the topics we need to cover under Linux system. Okay, the first topic is components of Linux, second one is interprocess communication, and the next one is synchronization, interrupt, exception, and system calls. So these are the topics we need to cover under Linux system, the first part in unit 6. Okay, let me explain one by one. Coming to components of Linux, let me take the new one. The first concept is components of Linux. Okay, coming to components of Linux, first we need to understand what is the Linux operating system. What is Linux operating system? Linux operating system is a open source software. Okay, it is open source operating system and it is very powerful and it is very easy to implement. I repeat, Linux operating system is an open source operating system and it is a powerful operating system and it is very easy to implement. And one more point about Linux operating system is it can be easily installed. As it is an open source, we can easily install into our system. And moreover, the Linux operating system is run on any type of platform. It can run on any platform. That means it is a platform independent software. When it was introduced in the year 1991, August. After that, the version 2, that means 0.02, the version 2 is released in the year October 5th, 1991. Okay. So what is this version? There are different types of Linux operating systems are there in the market. I will explain few for you. That is Arch Linux, CentOS, Fedora, And the next one is a Linux Mint. And next Red Hat. And the next one is Ubuntu. All these are the various types of Linux flavors. Okay. Coming to Linux, Linux is an open source operating system and it is a powerful, very easy to implement. As it is an open source, we can easily download it from the net and we can easily install. The operating system is a platform independent. That means it can run on any type of platform. It was initially introduced in the year 1991. Okay. Later the version 0.02 was released on October 5th, 1991. So all these are the various types of Linux operating systems: Arch Linux, CentOS, Fedora, Linux Mint, Red Hat, and Ubuntu. All these are the various types of Linux. Okay, this is the introduction. Okay, then what about the components of Linux? There are various components under Linux. What are those? The first one is process, and the next one is thread, and next what we need to discuss is IPC, and the next one is synchronization, and the next one is bootstrap, timer management, and the next one is kernel module. Okay, so all these are the components of Linux. Process, thread, IPC means inter-process communication, synchronization, bootstrap, timer management, and the kernel module. All these are the components, right? And the next one, what is a process? The first concept under components of Linux. Okay, what is a process? Process is nothing but program under execution. Program under execution. A process is a heavyweight. Okay, so why it is called heavyweight? The process consumes more number of system resources. Consumes more system resources. That is the reason why it is called as heavyweight. A resource may be a CPU, a resource may be a memory, a resources may be an IO devices, etc. So all these are called as resources. In order to complete the execution of a process, we require many number of system resources. So that is the reason why it is a heavyweight. Okay. And next, what a process contains? A process contains code and data. Okay. And next, how a process is recognized? Each and every process is identified by using a each process have an identifier. Each process is identified by using PID. PID means process identifier. What a process identifier? Each and every process in your computer having some attributes. Process identifier is one of the process attribute. Okay, what is process identifier? Process identifier is used to uniquely identify the process. What is process identifier? It is like your register number. Each and every student of a class have one register number and it is unique. The two students may have, any students may have a same name, but a student have unique register number. Like that, in our mission we have n number of process. All the process are uniquely identified by its identifier. It is called as PID, process identifier. Okay, process identifier is one of the attribute. What are the other such attributes? Process identifier, and the next one is a process state. As I told you earlier, a process may be in a new state, or it may be in a ready state, or it may be in a running state, or it may be in a waiting state, or it may be in an exit state. So all these are the process states. And next, what is the priority of a process? In our systems, we have two types of priorities. One is a low priority process and the second one is a high priority process. So whenever you want to assign a process for the execution, assign a process to the CPU, obviously the high priority process will get the chance first and the low priority process will get the chance next. Likewise, each and every process has priority. And the next one is program counter. What is program counter? Program counter holds the address of next instruction to be executed. Okay. Program counter is very important one. You need to understand what it holds. The program counter holds the address of next instruction to be executed. Okay. And the next attribute is memory pointer. I already told you process consumes more system resource. So in order to be executed by the CPU, the process need to be in the main memory. Okay. The process need to be in the main memory, then only the CPU can access that particular process and CPU is able to execute that particular process. So that each and every process need to be in the main memory. So where it is available in the memory, that will be indicated by the memory pointer. Right? And next, accounting information. Accounting information means, as I told you earlier, each and every process consumes more number of system resources. So whenever the process is under execution, the operating system has to know how much memory it requires, and next how much CPU time it requires, and next what are the IO devices it requires in order to complete its execution. All these things are comes under accounting information. And in order to execute the process, the operating system has to assign some resources to the process. So what are the resources? A process requires memory, and a process requires a CPU, and a process requires some IO devices for its execution, right? So all these are comes under process attributes. Process identifier, it is used to uniquely identify the process, and the next one is a process state. So the process from whenever it enter into the system, it is in the new state. Whenever it is in the main memory, it is in ready state. Whenever it is under the execution, it is in the running state. Whenever the process is waiting for the IO device, it is in waiting state. Whenever it completes its execution, it is in exit state. That is called as a process state. And next, priority of the process. As I told you, each and every process has one priority. It may be a low priority or a high priority, right? And the next one is a program counter. It holds the address of next instruction to be executed. And the next one is a memory pointer, where the process start and where it ends, like that. All the information will be available in two types of registers. One is a base and the second one is a limit register. We already discussed these two things when we discussed about memory management, right? And next, accounting information means how much memory required. And next, how much memory allocated to that particular process. And next, how much CPU time required to complete the execution. And next, what are the IO devices required? All these are comes under accounting information. Okay. And next, how a process is represented to the operating system. A process is represented to the operating system by using a process control block. In short, we can call it as PCB. PCB means process control block. So whatever the said information I told you earlier, all the process attributes are available in the process control block. What is the purpose of process control block? A process is represented to the operating system by a PCB or by using PCB. Okay, a process is represented to the operating system. What a process is, how the operating system able to know in which state the process, what is the process identifier, what about the program counter, how many resources the process requires, everything about a process, that information is available in process control block. Okay, that is about process, the first component of Linux operating system. And what is the second component of Linux operating system? That is thread. So far we have completed the first component of Linux operating system, that is a process. And the next one is thread. What is a thread? Thread is a lightweight process. Okay, lightweight process. Whereas process is heavyweight. Why? Because it consumes more number of system resources. Why thread is called as a lightweight process? Why? Because it consumes very less number of system resources. That is the reason why it is called as lightweight process. So what is the definition of a thread? Basic unit of CPU utilization is called as thread. And one more point, a process have any number of threads. That means a part of a process is called as a thread, or a basic unit of a process is called as a thread. Likewise, a process can have any number of threads. Okay. These number of threads, for example, a process have 4 threads, for example. All these 4 threads of a process can share code, data, open files of that process. Have you got my point? A process may have any number of threads. All these threads share code, data section, open files of that particular process. Okay. Whereas thread, each and every thread, for example, in our example, as what I told you, So a process divided into 4 threads, right? Each and every thread has its own register and stack. You got my point? Each and every thread, that means these things are separate for every thread. Each and every thread has its own register as well as stack. Whereas all the threads share code area, data section and open files of a process. That means code, data and open files. These are common to all the threads, whereas registers and stack are separated to the individual thread. Okay. Thread is a lightweight process. Why? Because it consumes very less number of system resources. What is a thread? Thread is a basic unit of CPU utilization. That means a thread is a part of a process. A process can have any number of threads. That means a process can be divided into any number of threads. All the threads can share data section, code section and open files of that particular process, whereas each and every thread has its own register and stack. That is about threads. Okay. Next, coming to third one. So far we completed the introduction of Linux and then we are in the components of Linux. The first component of Linux is a process and the second component of Linux is thread. The third one is inter-process communication. Okay. Third topic what we need to discuss is inter-process communication. And next, what is inter-process communication? What is inter-process communication? In short, it is called as IPC. Okay. If two processes are willing to communicate with each other, then definitely there should be some mechanism to make the communication possible. That means inter-process communication is for make the communication possible between the process. The process may be in a same mission or a process may be in a different mission. Have you got my point? If one process is willing to communicate, one process is willing to communicate with another process, then we require IPC. That means inter-process communication is a mechanism that involves communication of one process with another process. Okay. The process may be in same machine or the process may be in different machine. Okay. And one more point you need to understand, those two processes may be related. That means one process is a parent process and the second process may be a child process. Both the process can communicate with each other by using inter-process mechanism. Okay. For example, if the two process are in the same mission. I told you two things, right? The two process may be in the same mission or the two process may be in the different mission. For example, if the two process are in the same mission, process 1 and process 2. This is process 1 and this is process 2. These two things can communicate with each other by using inter-process communication. Okay, that means IPC between the two process which are in same mission, right? If the two processes are not in the same mission, then what is a diagram? How can we depict the diagram, depict the one, right? So this is a case where the two processes are in the same mission. If the two processes are in the different mission, for example, process 1 is in one mission and the process 2 is in another mission. Okay, so process 1 is in one mission, process 2 is in another mission. Right? Likewise, these two processes can communicate. That means here two processes are in different machines. Okay? What is inter-process communication? Inter-process communication, by using this mechanism, two processes can communicate with each other. The two processes may be in a same machine or the two processes may be in a different machine. Okay? The two processes are willing to communicate, then definitely we require inter-process communication mechanism. Okay? And next, what are the methods which are involved in the IPC? Okay? The first one is signals. And the next one, pipes. Third one, FIFOs. Fourth one, semaphores. And the next one, message queue. And the last one, shared memory. So all these are IPC methods. Okay, and by using these methods we can achieve inter-process communication. Okay, under that the first one, signals. By using signals, multiple processes can communicate with each other. Okay, that means a source process will send a signal and the destination process will handle it accordingly. Are you got my point? One process, that means a source process will send a signal and the destination process will be act accordingly. Okay, by using signal, multiple process can send signals to some other process. Here the signals are used to make the communication possible between the source machine and the destination machine. Okay, source machine will send signal and destination machine will, or destination process, sorry. Source process will send a signal and the destination process will act accordingly. Okay, and the next point is pipes. Next method, pipe. What is pipe? There is a rule here. The two processes which are going to communicate must be related with each other. That means two process must be related. Then only we need to go for pipes. Pipes are used to make the communication between the related process. Okay, the process need to be related with each other. And next, it is half duplex communication. What is half duplex? Half duplex means only one-way communication. Okay, that means one directional or unidirectional. Okay, for example, P1 is willing to communicate with the P2, then only one direction, one pipe we have to use. For example, P2 is also willing to communicate with the P1, then we require to go for a second pipe. This is the first pipe. Okay, that is about pipe. Pipes are used to make the communication between the related process, and it is half duplex communication mechanism. That means only one-way communication or unidirectional. For example, if we want to communicate, for example, process 1 is willing to communicate with the process 2, and process 2 is also willing to communicate with the process 1. Then we require two pipes for make two-way communication between the related process P1 and P2. Okay. And the next one is FIFO. FIFOs are used to make the communication between unrelated process. As I told you earlier, pipes are used to make the communication between the related process. Whenever the process are unrelated, then FIFO is used to make the communication. Okay. And next point about FIFO is full duplex. What is full duplex? FIFOs are for two-way communication. Okay, that means both the process, first process and the second process, P1 and P2, both can communicate at the same time. Why? Because FIFO supports two-way communication. That means at the same time both the process can communicate with each other. That is the third mechanism. What is the fourth mechanism? Semaphore. What is a semaphore? Semaphore is a synchronization variable. Semaphore is a synchronization variable. What for it is? It is used to know whether the resources are available or not. Okay. So basically you have different varieties of semaphores. In that the main one is a binary semaphore. What is a binary semaphore? Binary semaphore means it has two values, 1 and 0. If the semaphore value is 1, then the resource is available. If the semaphore value is 0, then resource is not available. Okay. Likewise, we can protect the resources. And then message queue. Message queues are also used to make the communication possible between two or more process. It is also full duplex. Full duplex means it supports the two-way communication. So one process will post the message to the queue. Other process will retrieve the message. Okay. And next, once the particular message is retrieved, no message is available in queue. Are you got my point? Message queues are for two or more process communication, and it is a half duplex communication. Sorry, full duplex communication. If one process will post the message to the queue and the other process will retrieve the message from the queue. Once the message is retrieved from the queue, the message will be no longer available in the queue. And the last one is a shared memory. Shared memory is also for make the communication between two or more process. Okay. And next, one shared memory segment is created. Okay, whenever the shared memory segment is created, then the ID will be generated. That is called as shared memory ID. Okay, the process which have that ID can access the shared memory. Once the shared memory is created, it will return a shared memory ID. The processes which are having that particular ID can access the shared memory, or the process which are having the shared memory ID only allowed to access the shared memory. Okay, so that is called as shared memory. For example, kernel. This is the main memory. So for example, this is process A and this is the process B. So this is the shared memory. For example, created shared memory. This is the shared memory. Okay. Process can keep the information here and B can retrieve the information or access the information available here if the B has a shared memory ID. Okay, there is no kernel involvement here. So that is the reason why. So shared memory concept is fastest. Okay, but less secure. Directly process can access the shared memory, but anyhow we have a shared memory ID. The process which are having the shared memory ID can retrieve the information from the shared memory. When compared to, for example, if it is a message passing mechanism, this is process A and this is the process B and this is the kernel. What happened here? A will pass the message to the kernel and kernel will pass the information to B. And for example, any two processes want to communicate with each other, then definitely there is a kernel involvement. That means process A has to send a message to kernel and kernel will send the message to process B. Likewise, the communication is possible in the case of message passing. Okay, here what is the problem? It is a slow mechanism. Why? Because every time we require the kernel involvement. Whereas in the case of shared memory, we don't require the kernel involvement. That is the reason why it is the fastest way of communication. Okay, so all these are comes under inter-process communication mechanisms. What are those? Signals, pipes, FIFOs, semaphores, message queues and shared memory. So far we completed the first three components. One is a process, and the second one is a thread, and the third one is inter-process communication. And the rest of the things, what are those? Synchronization, interrupt, exception, system call. All these are 4 remaining components of Linux will be discussed in the next class. Thank you.